Thank you to be here, everybody. I think there was a short introduction of our restaurant Ultraviolet, and I guess a lot of people don't necessarily know Ultraviolet. So we're going to start first to do another introduction, which was part of my demo, and then we will get into the recipe. We will try to do 4 recipes, and if we are too long, then they will stop us. Let's go. So this one is a bit of a waiting atmosphere, and we can go straight away now on the next slide for the presentation of Ultraviolet.
Welcome to Ultraviolet.
"45 minutes like this." That's our demo. Okay. Find me something. Okay, so we are trying to finish the setup here. Just a brief explanation from my side. It's always extremely difficult to talk about one's restaurant, and probably about this one as well, because I always consider that whatever trailer we will give to you, it's a place that needs to be experienced, because there's not such a thing as a business model on this one, and the impression that we might give when we show you some pictures of Ultraviolet, we might detract from the fact that the most important thing in Ultraviolet is the food. And I want to start by this and insist on this one. Everything else is here to enhance the food. And we consider everything else to be what we will call the atmosphere. The atmosphere is the intangible part in a restaurant, which is always difficult to grasp. It's about the light, it's about the decor, it's about the mood, it's about the company, it's about a lot of things like this. True that in the setting of Ultraviolet, you have to imagine, I think we can see on those pictures, and I'm not too sure about the introduction in German. I don't speak one word of German. So it's a table of 10 seats only, 5 nights a week. It's the same team that will serve that table. It's powered by 25 staff in total, including about 12 chefs and 8 on service, plus the other people around. All of us participate to serve that table on the same evening. And the people do not choose nor the time at which they will sit down. So they sit down generally at 7:30. They have a meeting. They meet in my other restaurant. And from that restaurant, we take them with a little bus, and we go in the place of Ultraviolet. That's the reason we never give the address of Ultraviolet, because it's of no interest, right? We don't have any people walking. We just have 10 guests. From the time we have opened, we have always had 10 guests. It's not it's not a football stadium, so it's not too difficult to fill in. It's an expensive restaurant, we have to say. And those people will sit all together at the same time, and of course we will impose a menu, which is a menu about of 20 course, 22 course. We have developed, since we opened 3 menus, and we call them UVA, first menu, the UVB, and finally the UVC, which is the latest release that we have released last December. Every course that we serve will be surrounded by, let's call this a scenario. The scenario meaning the sound, music, which is the same, but we understand each other. The projection, which is quite immersive for the people that sit down. Eventually the smell. We don't send a smell on every course, but we have a system that allows us to send a very precise smell, which is very much imprinted in the memory of everybody. It's a dry system, which allows us to send that scent for a small time and remove the scent. So it's a bit of a technique on this one. And that's the way we're going to proceed from one dish to another one in setting a surrounding which is tailored for the dish. Giving you a simple example, because yesterday we were in a discussion and I understand that from an outside point of view, we might start to talk about entertainment. Everything is entertainment. Going into a restaurant is entertainment. And I consider that every restaurant has an intention. Whatever decor you're going to set up, whatever Chinaware you're going to present, whatever way you're going to show your dish, you have an intention and you want to express something, right? In our case, we are lucky enough to have a system that will enable us to impose the first step of the imagination on the whole table. So if I make this very simple example, if I serve a dish called mushrooms, okay, it's a dish which is about mushroom, this we understand. And of course, this surrounding that we will set for that course will simply be the first image that you see, and I skip a little bit fast on it, which was this kind of red forest. Red because of autumn, red because of this atmosphere that is a little bit of a nostalgic atmosphere, etc. The music will be, because of this dish, which is a little bit sad, a little bit of a sad tone. We don't have, it's not about sadness. Sometimes it's joyful, sometimes it's ridiculous, sometimes it's, but we have that possibility to bring the people in and set the imagination of the whole table on the reason why the chef has been doing that dish. So it's the dish that will lead, in fact, every scenario that we present. And yes, I should start to cook, because otherwise we will never finish the demonstration. I agree with this, right? So that's it. Did it make sense, my explanation about ultraviolet? Did I forget something major? Yeah, it makes sense? Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. All right, so first course, it's a course which I'm happy to serve as an homage to Heinz here. Because when you do a course, you have to identify the patient zero, at least of a technique or a new medium or new product which is on the stage. And it's true that the inspiration, which I discovered a bit lately, was the use of the wax on a very famous dish that you do. It's actually my friend, Richard Ekebus, that came to one of the dinner of ultraviolet where we were encasing a fish into a gel, which is an interesting thing because the gel can set at 80 degrees. And we were looking for a new kind of encasing, and Richard told me, oh, my friend Heinz is doing something with some wax, you know, in Austria. At the time, I did not even get to your restaurant, and we were already trying to work on it. I was trying to work with cacao, and I was trying to work with different things. And anyway, wax was a very interesting medium, and that's what we have here. So you have to imagine something. That's because I like to set up atmosphere, so we have set up an atmosphere with that big candle here. And the table, when you enter on that dish, it's a full set of candle. If I can have the scenario already on this one for the next video. So this is the title of the dish: Candle in the Wind, Lavender, Honey, Wax, Sesame, Black Cod, Marseille, Shanghai, Jasmine qui parle. I know it's a big title, but that's because it's a mix of everything in that dish. Every dish is presented a bit on that fashion, meaning that we blend the atmosphere. And the reason why I've done that dish as the translation of my voyage from the time I was in the south of France, in Marseille, to the time I went to Shanghai. So it's kind of a fusion somewhere of that part, where I set that dish in Provence with ingredients such as honey, lavender, oregano, sage. That's for the Provençal part of it. The medium will be the wax. And the final setting of the dish will be set through a very Chinese taste. We will serve them with some spinach cooked at the last second. We will serve the dish on a wax plate, which is here, which is normally warm, and keep the dish warm. And finally, we will serve them with a combination of black sesame and white sesame. I'm going to say something important in case you have some interest in our recipe. We have, especially for our demonstration, set all the recipe, all the technical recipe with the ingredient and the right proportion on our website. So like this, it will avoid me to give you some proportion, some description about the ingredients, and I will focus mostly on the dish. Okay, so if you want to go on our website, you find Ultraviolet, you go on the website, and you will see the recipe itself without the explanation, because it's only for the people who are listening to the explanations. Yeah, we can go on the next one. And in the meantime, before it's too late, I'm going to take that candle here, right? So if I can get a camera somewhere on the live for this one.
This is still now, so shall I start the movie?
You can start.
Okay.
We're going to send an atmosphere now.
Yeah.
The atmosphere of that dish. Thomas, tell me when what I say doesn't make sense, right? Because it's quite often, but I don't even know myself about it. So you can see the fish now, which has been cooked inside of the candle. So I will not dare to call this an evolution at all. It's not the point. But when we do something, we genuinely try to know, is it something that we will consider as a creation of our own, or is it something that it happened that is taking too much of a part of somebody else? And we decided in that very case that when I see the dish of Heinz and I see the cooking warm, which is very much more on the side of the bee for me, right? Okay, we decided to go on the human side of the story, and we cook in the whole candle. And as a matter of fact, the wax is a very interesting medium for a lot of reasons, for its flavor, of course, and its capacity to completely entrap the juice. So we did a lot of tests on this one, including the first recipe. I don't even know if I should talk about this one, but now it's too late. I'm going to talk about this one. You cannot do everything. I was talking to somebody else just before. The first course I did about the wax usage was a very beautiful course, according to me. It was an interpretation of a chicken demi-deuil. You know, the chicken demi-deuil is that very classic French recipe where you're going to take the chicken and demi-deuil because partially you will see all the truffles through. So it's the idea of death, demi-deuil. And I did a chicken demi-deuil replacing the truffle by black garlic, etc. The flavor are fantastic because of the entrapment, because of the way you keep the juice, and because of the quality of the wax to be able to sustain the temperature at the level where it's set, that is to say, over 60 degrees. It's around 60, 65 degrees where it's set. It's very important that you cook on the set wax. So like this, you're going to be able to entrap the course, the ingredients, without pressuring the ingredients, right? If you cook over that temperature, you're going to have that pressure that will exercise on the ingredients, and then you will set yourself a little bit in the context of vacuum cooking, where you exercise pressure on the course. So I don't want to necessarily develop too much on this one, but it's a very important difference. So we can see here that all the ingredients, I'm going to just cut it in half just to see from both sides. All the ingredients that were stick to the fish now have been stuck by the wax, have imparted their flavor to the fish, and then we cut the fish at the table, and we will serve every guest a portion of that fish on the wax plate, which are just warm at the last moment. At the same time that I'm talking about the fish, I'm going to show you, Sherry has gone already with the spinach, the finishing of the plate. The spinach, I will tell you about the technique of the spinach because it's a small technique, but it's very important to understand that everything we do in that restaurant is sustained by personal technique, when the personal technique we consider as being a little bit more adapted or superior to the classic technique. Okay? So she's doing some spinach that she has been doing from the steamer. I'm cutting the fish, and Glenn is going to show you here the way we are building the candle itself. Let's see if this one flakes, because this is a traveling fish, right? They should not travel so much. You know, it's never too good for them. Let me try. Yeah, normally it's a black cod, so it's a beautiful flake, right? You have some beautiful cabillaud here, but it's true that the black cod is like extreme on its capacity to generate some beautiful flakes like this. So I'm going to take kind of a double flakes like this. And if you control properly the cooking, and it's quite easy in that medium, then you will have the perfect cooking. I don't know if you see it on the screen, but you're going to have that perfect cooking of the codfish, which is still completely shiny inside. Voilà, the dish is finished. I just serve a double flakes with not much of a trying to change whatever of that animal. Just going to put it just like this. Normally I use my hand, but here I try to be a little bit more delicate. Voilà. I'm going to do another one. This one you can take it for your photo. Okay, that's our first course. Candle in the wind with the black cod cooked inside of the candle that is served at the table. If I can insist a little bit on the interest of the candle, we have discovered something which was a completely hazard. But try as a medium. Try this medium for cooking, which is a fantastic one. Thank you, Hans. But we have tried some other things, and in terms of the capacity to keep the moisture, it's fantastic. And something that is very interesting in setting the things in the human world with the fact that we use the final product as being the candle with the light on it, is that the fact that when we keep the light on the guy, we extend the cooking for 15 to 20 minutes, and it will keep the whole inside of the fish warm. Right? So we have plenty of time to set that guy on the table, let the people in, and then, of course, it will be quite of a surprise generally when we scoop out of the tens of candles that are on the table, that big candle to open it in front of the guest. Voilà. Alors, I'm going to try not to forget anything. This one, before we go on the next course, we have, okay. Glenn, I'm going to join you here. Glenn is doing now the second layer on the fish. Did we show the fish with the herbs as well? So that's the bottom that we have inside of the candle. It's everything is linked. I'm not going to explain everything on the scenario. You have a song here, which is a beautiful Chinese song, and this scenario, because it's linked in China and as well in Provence, will be followed by the French version, which is Le Jasmin qui parle par Mireille Mathieu. If anybody know Mireille Mathieu, fantastic, right? She's from Avignon, so how can it be closer to what I'm doing? Okay, and this one, we have a special machine here for the stencils that we're going to use also on the next course. So we are building That pattern, if some people want to recognize it, it's a pattern from Van Gogh, okay, about lavender fields. It's little things like this that accumulate, and at the end of the day, we never explain nothing, right? Here I have to explain a little bit because I'm on stage. But it's all about feeling and bringing everything together on the same kind of atmosphere, making sense, even if the people don't necessarily decipher everything that we want to explain. We firmly believe that unconsciously, a lot of the details that you put together, when they make a whole, they will be felt without being analyzed by the people. Right, so, where are we? What time is it? Let's go on the next one. Let's go on the next one. Next course. So it's a bit shorter on the explanation, this one. Carabineros de Huelva sand shell time puzzle. And I have intentionally used the Spanish name, which I'm supposed to be Catalan, but I don't speak really Spanish somewhere. I'm Catalan from France, from the south of France, from Perpignan. It's because the origin of that dish, it's about the way our Catalan friends, our Spanish friend, I would say, are generally serving their beautiful shrimps. This is the red shrimps. Okay, carabineros, there is a few variety of it. One of the most beautiful shrimp in the world, some of you are probably using them from here, is those shrimps that are migrating from the Antarctic to the Mediterranean. That's why the Spanish are selling them, let's make it simple. But you can find it mostly on those coasts at the embouchure. Between Antarctic and the Mediterranean. It's a beautiful product by itself. Such a beautiful product that you could really hesitate to touch it. It's the same story. Do you want to touch an oyster? Yes, you can do fantastic things with an oyster. But knowing that the product is so beautiful by itself, how do you want to bring something to that product without destroying that product? So the fact is that generally when you eat a shrimp, you will still need to have a counterpoint. Counterpoint meaning the counterpoint of the steak is the mustard, right? That's what I call counterpoint. You could say condiment, but it's not always a condiment. The counterpoint is the rest, the breath between one bite and the next bite. If two bites are the same, it could become a little bit boring along the way. So it's very important that you have, when you don't put too many things on the plate, right? We put very few things on the plate. We try to be as essentialist as the plate call. But at the same time, we always work on the counterpoint. So in that case, if you've been eating those carabineros, a lot of the times they are fried. And you're going to eat on one side, on the shelf, the head of the carabineros, which is going to express all the jus, all the bitterness, all the sweetness of the carabineros. Sometimes they are fried enough so you can nearly bite inside of the shell. And then you eat the tail. And that's what I wanted to express, but I wanted to express that that shell should reach texture, which would really be edible. And that's the work we have done, was to work on the edibility of the shelf. You can send the scenario, and then when we put the scenario bit on the side, you know, we can do the things like this. So this is the introduction of the carabineros. That's because it's related to the fact that the shelf, as you're going to see now, has been completely spread. Leave the music on the background, it's okay. So like this, we keep a little bit the atmosphere of that dish when we serve it. So you want to come here now, maybe. Sherry is showing you, okay. We skip a little bit some of the step, of course. We have some templates that we do with a special laser cutter, because this kind of template is extremely difficult to do precisely by hand. So we have a special machine to do this.
Right here to
and of course, this is the digest. When I present the things like this, it's nothing more technically than a tuile. But it's true that if you want to do something, it's not about the final effect. It's about the original reason why you have been doing something. It took us nearly a year to find the perfect texture for the perfect taste that I wanted to have for that shelf. And just to say that it's not because the idea seems to be done that you should stop, you should get. It's going to be difficult on stage, of course, to explain what is the texture. But we call it sand. It's the evolution of what was the crystal. The crystal, somewhere, is like, you can see a raspberry crystal. It's a little bit vitrified, a bit a window kind of break, right? This one is very sandy. So when you take it, it's breaking straight away in your mouth. It's nearly both crunchy, but extremely light crunch. This is the combination in the original recipe, in the dosage between the fat that you incorporate into the starch, okay? And of course, there is some egg white inside. Does it make sense? Right, okay. The recipe is nearly finished. Look, we try to remain essential. Spanish shrimp, just cook, you eat the shell. That's exactly what we do. We have the 4 beautiful carabineros that have been just shelved out of the sinks, room temperature. We heat the pan 240 degrees. We put 50 grams of burnt butter, cook at 140 degrees inside. This is just to tell you that we are precise, but we don't care, okay? And you just cook the shrimps. It's going to be 30 seconds, 30 seconds, and 30 seconds, and then the shrimp hit the plate. The dish is finished. In fact, I talk more than we cook, right? But it's a bit of a digest. It's long to do otherwise. Okay, but me, I'm just at the end of the story. So do I have enough shelf, Sherry? Can you give me the shelf? Ah, in the box. Everything's ready. So they are extremely delicate, and they can't really stand the humidity, okay? We could compensate the humidity. You can use nougat sec product, etc. But we try to avoid, okay, to compensate the humidity. So we prefer generally to mold them really at the last moment. You can mold them on the plancha, okay, like what we are doing right now. You can mold them under the salamander or under a sugar lamp, right? And we do it at the last moment, so we keep very much the crispiness and the freshness of those products. You don't want to keep them inside of a warm space. They will degenerate. The great advantage to be in ultraviolet is to be able to serve the product at the peak, because we know exactly what we serve and when we serve it. So this gives you a very interesting edge. We are not submitted to the a la carte order, right? Where somebody is going to order something and then you need to deliver in 15 minutes. That's very complicated. So anyway, this is the shrimp. I'm going to try not to break them. I break them. Ah, break one already. C'est pas bien ça. On stage, I never. 2. Alors attends. Okay, and look, it's not difficult, huh? I think I went to drink a couple of rum. Maybe I shouldn't have drank 4. Okay. Alors, that's all the beauty of it, but at the same time, it's extremely, extremely delicate. So we have a special box, and we have careful people which are younger than me to do that thing. But our shrimp also, they are okay. From a professional standpoint, you will see that they start to open. Okay, they've been a little bit traveling. It's not the top of the top now. Can I have a little spatula for this one? Yeah. Just to serve this one. So the shrimp just cook. We have just covered them with the intestine, right? To finish the whole idea of the Spanish guys, right? When you eat the head. So this one is the intestine of the shrimp that have been cooked on a pressure steamer only for 10 minutes with a little bit of grenadine syrup, okay, which is balanced by a little bit of Japanese vinegar and the mirin, which is both on both sides, both sweet and sour, right? So the interesting point of the grenadine is strengthening the licorice flavor, which is the natural flavor of the shrimp. And then you will find the licorice flavor again inside of the shell, and the shell is very sour. You know, when you eat the shell, you're nearly shocked. It's like a lime licorice concentration. Okay, and that's the point. That's the counterpoint. Ouais, c'est a little bit better. It would be nicer. Et voilà, c'est fini. Tu vois, on parle pendant 3 jours, et puis finalement, c'est fait en 2 minutes.
Hey, yo.
Voilà, so you need to take this one from the top. It's very graphic. That's why we are on the Japanese kind of feel. The reconstitution of the shelf, which is about aging. I understand myself, okay? And you need to take this one the way you see it from the plate, which is very much like the decomposition of the shrimp in 3 parts. That's about it. Never add anything to this kind of plate. That's for the next course. Let's go. Thank you.
You got a minute to pray.
How much more time I have? It's okay?
The next one?
We're still in the line? We're still okay? Yeah, let's go on the next one. Let's move the guys. And let's go on the next preparation. Okay. So we are still in the sea. These are actually 2 dishes that are exactly in the same order and the way we serve it on the last menu from UV. So one is preceding the next one. And here we're going to stay inside of the sea with a dish which is about an éloge to the iode, to the iodine smell and flavor of the sea. So it's called very sea scallop, sea urchin, seaweed, lime, sea snow, shell, sea adagio cantabile. And you hear a lot of seas, that's because it's about the sea, right? So on that course, we will send a beautiful scent, which is a scent of the sea. And actually, when I say like this, it seems to be obvious. It's absolutely not obvious to develop the scent of the sea. We have a partner, which is MAN, which has been working a long time for us to be able to develop the scent of the sea that we think is appropriate to the dish. You have different scent of the sea. You have the coastal scent of the sea, the deep sea. You put more or less plastic in the scent. It's a mix of plastic, smoked salmon, a bit of oyster, and then you get the right scent. Very difficult to do, but we have people working with us to do this kind of scent. Alors, to make it a little bit short on this one, you will see Sherry has been building the plates already. Did we mention for the other plate? No? All right, okay. Doesn't matter. So, on the preparation, it's mostly about the flavor combination. There's a few preparations that I belong to do, okay, such as the bass. The bass, to cut it short without going into the whole recipe, the bass, that is to say, this liquid in which we'll marinate those seaweed, okay, which are kombu seaweeds that have been cooked for 12 hours. The bass is, imagine that you have a seawater, okay, in which you add a part of a Japanese dashi. For a lot of people, I think dashi becomes common, and a part of soy sauce, and a high part of lime. And it's normal that that dish calls for lime, because as I said to you, those 2 courses are served in the right sequence of ultraviolet. And if on 22 courses, you want to be relevant about the way a dish goes after another dish, and you don't want to isolate themselves, it's very interesting to have resonance, okay? So you will have one of the main ingredients that was in the previous dish that will be in the dish to follow. And every time you're going to take one of those ingredients. And that's the way that you've got quite a balance in serving 22 courses. It's something that we use a lot, okay, and we call it a resonance. Voilà. Alors, she's been finishing the plate. You can see roast scallop in this one, some German sea urchin, okay, they are better the one we have, okay. Some kombu seaweed, some other little red seaweed here, not even sure of the provenance of this one, and just, voilà, we are just going to finish now that plate with a little butter crouton. Okay, that's the French side. Okay, when you eat inside of a shellfish restaurant, you're going to have always the bread and the little butter. And that's the best counterpart, right, to the kind of bitterness, acidity that you're going to find in that thing. So Glenn is going to show you a crouton here. It's not much also, but it's just on a small technique. You're going to see we put the butter in between two slices of bread, and we're going to crush them. And finally, that dish is nearly finished. I'm going to do the finishing part. Where are we setting up this one? Here? Okay, so we'll bring the plate around.
The next one?
Where are we now? Yeah, did we play this one? Yeah, we need always to let it play. You let it play. Adagio cantabile. And we continue to play this one. All right, the finishing of that dish. It's inspired by another dish from the menu just before. I'm going to use, the counterpoint here is going to be mostly on the temperature. Because the whole mix is on the same line as the whole dish. So I'm going to use this foam, which is going to be a seawater foam, based on what I said to you before. So when I say seawater foam, we don't have a very clean seawater as a base. So actually we are making an infusion of a different seaweed with a different salt to get that feeling of a seawater. And this is seawater with lime, right? That's as simple as that. A little bit like when you eat that jus of oyster and you have pressed the lemon juice inside of it, that's exactly the feeling of that foam, right? So I'm gonna finish that dish. So there's something I like in that dish in the sense that we present the things a little bit atomisé like this, which is very rare in what I do, but it's very important to take a little bit of a bite here and there. And it's a little bit precious compared to what I like, because normally I like something which is one piece only in the plate. But then we're gonna cover everything, so anyway, nobody will see nothing. So let me try to do those guys. I don't know, can you see from this, or should I go on the side? With the camera, I'm gonna put maybe the things like this. Don't do this, huh? Don't put your fingers in the liquid nitrogen. It's not a good idea. One, two, three, four, five. Voila. And you've got the shell, which is done with the sea scallop, which was in your plate. And finally, you see, I cover everything. So this one, the shelf life is 30 seconds, right? A lot of the things, that's the point of a restaurant. The shelf life, okay, in a restaurant, with the distance that you have and the teams that you have, you need to work on dishes where shelf life will not be the same as the shelf life of a banquet. But it doesn't mean that the bœuf bourguignon is not fantastic, but it means that in the case of a restaurant like this one, it's very important that we have short shelf life, because you cannot have them in another context. I cannot have that dish, for instance, in my other restaurant in Mr. and Mrs. Bell. So we serve it just like this. Sometimes I make it better than this. I'm going to do some other one. I'm going to do some other one. Okay? And voilà. And then it goes to the table. I've been waiting already too long. And then you break it. Voilà. And you eat. And it's an interesting, because it's extremely, extremely light, right? It's, how can I express lightness on the screen, right? Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't fly. But if he had wings, he would. One of the most stupid things I've said lately. Okay, I'm going to do another one. Can I do another one? Hey, boys and girls. Yeah? Qu'est-ce que vous me faites là? Let's do another one. 2 seconds. So ladies, we're going to finish the second plate. We have the second plate? We are not too late? Thomas, is okay? The timing is okay? You know, I break the bracelet of my watch when I arrive here. Anyway, so that's an excuse, but the next course will be very fast as well. So I'm going to do another shelf, right, for you. So very important that they are extremely light. So seawater foam, nitro shell, and then you take another nitro shell. Voilà. This is the sun of a dish, which is a beautiful dish from the menu B, which I could have done if I had an oyster, because it's very fast when I have everything here, but we did not find the oyster. It's, I enclose the oyster with the top of the lid, which is in the nitro, on the top of that foam, which is on the top of the oyster. And they will seal the oyster inside, and then you open it, and then you have just a little sorbet on the top of the oyster, which is untouched. When I say it like this, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's the origin of that dish. So this one is more like a following in the line of those shell that we are doing that are extremely, extremely light. Voilà. So is it okay as an explanation? So that will be our third dish, very sea scallop. And do you wanna get it on the photo just like this? Is possible? You wanna take this one very fast and then break it, right? If you want to take a photo, which is not too bad about this. If you take it when it's too late, then it's ugly, right?
It's okay.
10 minutes, yes. 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes left. Okay, so the last course, okay, we can go on the next scenario. I will go on the dessert. I will talk about the conceptual thing using techniques that everybody now know. Right, so we're going to do a demi-sphere, a semi-sphere inside of the nitro with the back of our ladle. So if you want, maybe you can see Sherry here. She's just making some demi-sphere here. Do we have some good one, Sherry? Or yeah, is it working very well? So it's not because something is in the know. Especially when we talk about avant-garde cuisine, because every time you want to erase, you know, what was done like 1 or 2 years ago, it's not the point. There's a lot of things to explore and to do. So that dish will be based on a technique that a lot of people now know and have been using. We've been using technique of molding shelf since 2005, so it's quite a while already.
Next picture.
Next picture. Voilà. And this is one of the final desserts. So it's a peach melba. We've been working on that mix, which is, it's difficult to give a nice peach. You can see a peach sorbet. You need to have fantastic ripe peaches, etc. I'm from the country of peaches. The peaches are fantastic in Perpignan. And we've been working both on the flavor of the peach, and at the same time, if you look at it, when the sorbet will finish to set, it looks like a peach, right? You have that appearance of the skin of the peach. So there's a bit of a double intake here. So that's not even what the recipe is about. The recipe is about the lines that I call a lot of nothing. And I have a lot of dishes that are about a lot of nothing, meaning that there is probably 90% of air inside of the dish, okay, for an impression of something that is feeding. So what we're gonna do at this time, you have to understand the context. You are at the end of a 20-course menu. And then I will bring on the table that dish. Simple chantilly, beautiful French song. Renault. Is Renault popular in Germany? So now it's popular. It's a dish that weighs 20 grams. So just a bit of a chantilly, nice light chantilly. Actually, it's a very light chantilly. Here, this is dehydrated raspberries that we do ourselves. We have a little dehydrator on this one. When it's not the right season for the raspberry, actually, we use 2 times the dehydrated one. It's nearly better. But for a lot of reasons, when they are fresh, we take the fresh raspberry and we just refill them with a reduction of the raspberry juice, which we do with rotary evaporator, so like this we don't change the profile. Okay, yes. Hold this on a second. I'm talking and doing things at the same time. I've never been able to do this. When I was trying to kiss a lady when I was dancing the slow when I was young, I had to stop to dance to kiss the lady. I don't know if you get the translation of this. Okay, so the only difficult thing is this one. Okay, voilà. And then we have to wait a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try to set it. And then we put this one. This one is the way we keep them. We need to reach the right moment. Because again, this dish is going to be like a 30-second shelf life. So we are resetting actually the sorbet on the top. I've been doing the dish in front of you, so of course then the effect is gone. But you have to imagine that you have had 22 courses, and then comes at the table that very impression of serving a big sorbet, okay, that the people are already anticipating with fear that last course until, of course, they get inside of the course. I don't know if we get it here, okay? So the timing is not right. So it will probably flip, okay? But normally we set this one so the things don't flip, it will flip, okay? Voilà. And then you have that thing, which is finally a lot of nothing in the sense that the little ice cream on the top is a very thin, powerful pitch going on the chantilly, etc. So it's more, what I wanted to say here, we are renewing the concept of a technical avant-garde techniques that everybody know, but it's because conceptually it's an interesting dish, and that served at the right time in the dinner, then it takes the volume. The dish gets its volume during the course of the dinner, if it makes any sense. So that's it for today, right? Send us a little bit of music là, c'est mou là le truc là, envoie-moi la musique.
Okay, thank you so much. Paul Pairet. That was a fantastic demonstration.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Wait a little moment.
Okay, I don't go. Bon, les gars, rangez-moi ce bordel. C'est pas possible de foutre autant de panique en 2 minutes.
I have a present. This is.
A present.
This is a CHEF-SACHE knife.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
This year's edition, and you see on the other side, CHEF-SACHE 2017.
Well, I have to say something here. I hate to be a sucker, but thank you, Thomas,
so much.
and Carola, for your wonderful welcome and the fantastic professionalism to have those guys coming to visit us in Shanghai, trying all our 3 restaurants before we came here, taking the time to make an article about it. I mean, a lot of places have a lesson to take. We are very grateful you invited us to come to Germany to speak French-English, but I did not have the time to learn the language. Okay, so thank you so much.
Paul, thank you.